There you go. Welcome to Throwback Thursday. Looks like he's already bored already, not even started. So this week's Throwback Thursday, we're going to have to drive to the township of Motueka. Is it that boring? Nah, it's actually quite interesting. This one's got a bit of adventure. It goes back to when I left home and where I lived and what I did to survive and the trouble I got myself into and the things that I learned. So I've been thinking a little bit about the story, obviously pre-telling it, and because the last two stories have upset people and pissed people off, and I've taken one down and one's been taken down, so this one, who knows where it'll take us. Quite frankly, I don't care, but it was my truth back then. So I'm going to drive into Motueka now to pick up some supplies, and I thought it's a good chance to tell it because I can show you. Oh, so boring. I can show you where it all went down. He's honest. Right, get on the road. I like going to Motueka. It's a nice town and it brings back fond memories of my youth, or part of my youth. I think you'll enjoy this story, seeing what.
I used to live down by the river, under the Motueka Bridge. It got cold in the winter. I was only just a kid. I was waiting for the sun, waiting for the sun to come. I was waiting for the sun to come.
Pulled over here to talk about this place, ended up yakking to this filthy pig under. Joel, good to meet you, Joel. Anyway, this is where I had my hut, right under there. It's a big pool of water now, but we'll go and check it out and I'll talk about it. But as you can imagine, it was pretty bloody noisy sleeping under here. This water didn't used to be here. That's from all the four-wheel drive guys that have gone through here. But right here was where I had my hut. So it wasn't actually a hut as such. It was more just a shelter under here. And I had a bit of plastic to keep the wind out because the prevailing wind used to come through here. And under here I'd have my fire right under the bridge. Can you imagine that? Today there's just all shit like tin cans and beer. It brings down a funny element to people around here. I used to have a couple of ropes that went across here, and that was for hanging the tobacco that I'd dry out. And Dirta, the German woman that I slept with under here quite regularly, she used to make bread on the fire. She'd make this sort of camp oven bread. So it was a really awesome spot. My toilet used to be down here in the corner, and I had a hole, a deep hole, which I used to do my business in and cover up. And that was the reason that I had to move out, because the council found out that I was doing poo in a public place and covering it up, and that wasn't on, of course, so I had to go. So from there I went down to the river mouth. Man, a real trip down memory lane. Doot doot. Well, this is the mouth of the Motueka River, or at least it is down there. And right in there, over there, there's some bushes, that's where I had my hut. Somebody's got a hut on the other side of the river, and it just looks very similar to what I used to have. Very similar indeed. He's got some plastic up to keep the rain off. That would be fantastic there. Very nice. Well, we're right here at the mouth of the river. Mouth's over there, estuary's there, and right there is where I have my hut. It's amazing to come back after all these years, because I haven't been back after all these years. And see, things have hardly changed. It's almost the furthest point you'd go where there's no trees. And this is a tree over here. There's a few people camping out here now, just white baiting for the season. But this is where I lived for a good deal of time. So there's shellfish out there still will be, ducks. There was ring-neck crop pheasant I caught down there. I actually shot with my Shanghai. I used to shoot a lot of stuff with the Shanghai. And there's rabbits around here, there was hares. I used to get eels, and when I shot a rabbit I would always keep the actual leftovers and I'd put it down by the bank, and I'd go down that night with my spear, the torch, and then inevitably there'd always be an eel hanging around by it, and that's how I'd get another eel. it was just an amazing place to be. Fishing was really good at the river mouth back then. I don't know if it still is, it probably is. I haven't been fishing down there for a long time. I probably should come down. I got myself into trouble, and I've got a video about that, so I'll also post it below. There was a guy called Malcolm that I ended up living with when I left this area. I ended up picking tobacco for a guy called, was it Peter Fry? No, that was his brother, Tony Fry. And I actually met his son the other day, Josh, and we talked about this. But he came down here while I was living in the hut, and he said to me, "What are you doing living down here in this hut? What are you living off?" And I said, "Well, I'm living off everything I catch and harvest." I didn't tell him I was nicking the odd bit of produce. And he said, "Oh, I'll give you a work picking tobacco." So that's what I did. And I moved in with Malcolm, but I still had that mentality of stealing, which, yeah, I learnt the hard way. And there's a video about that. I was stealing this man's grapes and I got caught. So I'll put the description in the description box below the story about that, because it's quite a funny story. There were a few conflicts down here. There was a lot of guys down here that were a bit deviant living down here that do bad stuff. I got into a couple of fights, mostly of accusing me of taking their camping area. They had areas that marked out, and it was all public land. You could go wherever you want to, and that's just human nature. You know, this is my designated area. Same as people down here now that are white baiting. You know, they choose a patch and they mark it out, and that's theirs. But actually, it's public land. Anybody can be there. Those matters got resolved back then by normally fistcuffs or coming to a mutual agreement. But this is amazing to be down here in the same place. You know, it really feels pretty much the same. It's like it's timeless. It hasn't changed, and we're talking over 40 years ago down here. So the food source was duck, pheasant. I only ever got one pheasant, rabbit, sea run trout you catch here. I wasn't that fussed on catching the muddy type river ones that weren't. Kahawai at the mouth of the river was, I shot a hell of a lot of rabbits with my Shanghai. I always have been good with a Shanghai. I'm still pretty not too bad, can still knock a rabbit over, but that was my weapon of choice, and that's what I would use. Ducks would get headshot, just sneak over the riverbank and head shoot a duck, and it was a great place for a young boy to live. Now I travelled with these two young, actually four of them, Inge, Sonia, Sibylle and Dirta. 4 German women. They're actually lesbian, and nothing was ever going to happen. They liked me because they said I wasn't considered to be a man, and which didn't do much for my ego. But one of them, Dirta, her and I actually ended up spending some time down there together, and not without lack of trying, she definitely was a lesbian. Nothing ever became other than friendship, much to my disappointment. Yeah, we would go swimming in here naked on a regular basis. Didn't matter. Nothing really mattered. We just had a brilliant time. A really good place to grow up. There was struggles, there was hard times, there was times that I didn't succeed in catching food, times that I went hungry, but I learnt to sort of adapt and make it all work. You can see there's white baiters down here because all the strips for checking if the bait is swimming across. So the bait are running now, so people are baiting. Anyway, this is really awesome to come back to the spot and share it with you. The end result was me moving out and working for an honest living, picking tobacco for the bloke Fry, and that was a fantastic, there you go there, fantastic time for me. I learned about the guts of working for $1 rather than stealing stuff, and doing it honest, doing it hard. And I was the only white boy that did it. I was like a lot of how do you say, mostly Fijian, a few I think there's some Tongans with us, but yeah, I was the token white boy, and I was the smallest, probably was the worst worker out of all of them. They were much stronger and bigger than me, but I really enjoyed having a roof over my head. And that was down River Road, in a little hut I lived in with the guy called Malcolm. No longer there, it's now since gone. I finally caught up with the guy that employed me. I met him just by chance having a coffee in Mapua, and it was really good to touch base and just go back over the past. I used to live down by the river under the Matawaika Bridge. So that's a song that I wrote about that time in my life, and I will post below the link, the reenactment I did with my daughter Hannah, where we showed what I did. She reenacted it. She's my younger daughter. Back then when we did the reenactment, she was probably about 12 or 13, I think. So I get a few people comment saying to me, geez, where were your parents? What was going on? Like as if it was a bad time, but actually it was a fucking good time in my life. My parents broke up when I was 10. My father was a ranger in Fiordland, and then my mother shifted to Christchurch and took us kids. I grew very bored very quickly in the city, and that's why I came back to my sort of roots, this area. So it wasn't a bad time, it was an exciting time. It was a time of a discovery, of adventure, struggle, conflicts, but also a lot of wins and a lot of friends. And I learnt a lot. I learnt a lot about survival. I survived. So that sort of got carried through into my adult life with different things. And when I look back now on my life, this was a part of my life that was really exciting. It was an awesome part of my life, and I have no regrets at all that I didn't go to school, that I didn't get an education, that I slept out during cold nights and suffered a wee bit physically. Honestly, it really caused no problem at all. That was just an adventure. Yeah, there was times I was uncomfortable. Yeah, there was times I was hungry. Yeah, there was times I was cold, but those things aren't the things that make you unhappy or happy. That's just life. And a lot of people do it a lot harder than that. There's people that ride on the edge all the time. For me, it was just like camping out all the time. It was an adventure. So don't think, what were your parents doing? My parents would have struggled to keep me at home. I was a little bastard. I was always off eeling and fishing and hunting and stuff. I was hard work, so I was doing the right thing for me at that time. So my parents weren't concerned or even slightly worried about me, because they knew that I knew how to look after myself. I always have been able to look after myself in that sense. And it's been really, really neat to come back today and show you guys the life I once had. Bloody good throwback for me. Really enjoyed it. I don't think anybody can get upset about this one. Anyway, that's it. Be good. If you can't be good, be careful. See you later. Now, where's my bloody keys, Pace? I've lost them again. Oh, man. As I say, Clay, you'd lose your bloody balls if they went in the bag. Oh, there they go.
I used to live down by the river, under the Mattawaka Bridge. It got cold in the winter, I was only just a kid. I was waiting for the sun.